Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
And gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
There's no crying in baseball.
To infinity and beyond.
Iron Man.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Film Code. My name is Phoenix Clouden, and of course, joined by the two greatest co-hosts in the world. First off, we can't see him, but we get the soft, velvety tones of his voice, Mr. Zach Sneeze. Zach, how are you, sir?
Hey, Phoenix, I'm doing great, man. Unfortunately, I had my webcam go out right before the call, so it's kind of unfortunate, but I'm excited to talk with you guys about the movie and just have a good discussion today.
I think so. We're, of course, joined by our Season 3 code-breaking champion, the one and only Sir Brandon. How are you, sir?
Man, I am good, Phoenix. It is good to be back on here. I'm excited to be talking about this upcoming movie that we're going to be discussing. It's crazy. And, what do we have? A couple week hiatus coming up? Because I think you're going to TIFF, right?
That is true. Yes, I am.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. We'll get to that in a second. Just ladies and gentlemen, as a reminder, this is a film recording during the SAG and writer strike. So we decided to not review any current releases until these companies and corporations decide to pay their writers and screen actors fairly and better. So we decided to make the decision to not cover any newer movies and just go back and cover a lot of some older movies. So Phoenix, how are you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm excellent. And especially excellent because of the movie that we are discussing today, which is The Truman Show, 1998, directed by Peter Weir, starring, of course, Jim Carrey, Laura Linney, Noah Emmerich, Natasha McElhorn, Holland Taylor. Really, really strong cast. Paul Giamatti's in here as well, along with Ed Harris. This is the story of Truman Burbank, who was an experiment. He was a child, and he was taken by this company, and the idea was he would live his life under a camera, and his whole life would be broadcasted to the world 24 hours a day without his knowledge. So you had his family, his friends, everyone is actors portraying, helping him tell the story of his quote unquote life. This movie came out before the idea of reality TV even became a thing, and now it's kind of prophetic in that sense when you see the kind of reality TV shows that we have today. This was my first time ever seeing The Truman Show. What about you guys? Had you seen this before, or was this a first time viewing for you as well?
This was a third time viewing for me. I don't remember the exact date I watched it the first time, but I watched it a couple years ago, and I was just mesmerized by it. And then I was sitting at home one day. I was like, you know what? It's been a while since I've seen The Truman Show. Threw it on. I'm like, awesome. Still a great movie. And then in preparation for our recording here, I decided to go and rewatch it.
Nice. And Zach, this was your first time?
Yes, this was my first viewing. I've heard a lot about it prior to watching it, but yes, this for me would be my first viewing.
Nice. All right. So yeah, for the most part, pretty new to this. Like, I've wanted to see this movie forever, but I just never got around to it. And of course, I'm speaking of one movie that is currently out and doing very well, Barbie. I'm a big Barbie fan. Huge Barbie fan. I'm obsessed with it. And Greta Gerwig had a movie watch list of like all the movies that inspired Barbie. The Truman Show was one of them. it was literally the first film I watched from her watch list because I've wanted to see it for so long. So I got around to it. It was the first film I watched, and I was just mesmerized by it. Like it's one of the most creative, but also one of the darkest films I think I've ever seen in my life. And like that balance that it has is insane, and how well it's carried. And Jim Carrey, like we'll get into it a little bit, but like Jim Carrey, known for comedies, right? Known for some of the funniest comedies I think I've ever seen in my life, between The Mask and Liar Liar and stuff like that. But like he's got a great dramatic side, and when he's able to tap into that, you have some of his best performances of all time. This, for the longest time, was considered one of his best performances, and one of the best films he's done. And so, like I said, I was very highly anticipated looking into it, and I came away pretty satisfied. So, real quick, non-spoiler, Brandon, what did you think now on your third viewing of The Truman Show?
Yeah, like to me, I think this film was just perfect. It's tough to dive into this movie without talking spoilers, but I will say is multiple viewings are required on this film. There's so many things that you'll pick up on the more you rewatch it, and it adds so much more like love and appreciation to the film for me personally. So I'm really excited to dive into spoilers.
Zach, what about you?
For me, I like I was telling you guys before the podcast, like I felt like there was a lot of hype behind it. Every person who I talked to about the Truman Show was overly explaining how great the movie is. So I had extremely high expectations for it. And for me, a lot of the emotional moments didn't hit. I don't agree with Brandon. I don't think it's that deep. I think it's a great movie. I really enjoyed it. I think it's not just a mid movie either. I think it is great, but I just don't think it's this perfect thing that people make it out to be.
My first time watching, I will agree with you there, Zach. I think I gave it a 4 stars my first time watching, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. Nothing special, but like I said, the more I rewatched it, I think the better appreciation I got. So I don't know. Maybe we might change if you end up rewatching it. Who knows?
Yeah, I've only seen this movie once, and I did not have the hype that Zach had behind it. For me, it was just I'd always just wanted to see the movie, right? And because like I don't know why, but like this movie's kind of weird in my life, where it's like at random points in times, I'll just see advertisements for it or like screenshots from it. Like it's kind of been chasing me this entire time, and like watch me already. And I'm like, okay, like to finally get the opportunity to check it out, and without any of the hype, and it resonated with me on first viewing. Like it might, yeah. I think Brandon's right. You could learn more from it from repeated viewings, but for me, it stuck the landing like immediately on first viewing, because, and I think it's because we've grown up in this sort of reality TV kind of sphere that, and this movie being like before that, you kind of see elements of how we do reality TV now in this movie, and you're like, oh, like. And me personally, I hate reality TV. I think it's the worst thing that we do as a species and as a culture. I think it's absolutely awful. But that being said, like I just got it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like right off the bat, I just got it. And I think what really makes it strong is it's a screenplay and its acting and its direction, because Peter Weir does some really impressive things, I think, throughout this movie. So overall, it stuck the landing for me. First viewing, I can't wait to watch it again. I think it's really one of those films that has a place in like the zeitgeist kind of forever.
I'd have to agree with you there. Can we finally break the seal of spoilers?
Yeah, let's do it.
Finally. Okay, man, right off the bat, just noticing how many different cameras there are. There's just, it's insane. Like, I hate to keep using the term the more I rewatch it, but like every viewing, I notice more and more cameras. His ring is a camera. His wife Meryl's necklace is a camera. Just all over the street, there's cameras. There's so much product placement, dude. Man, the product placement is just ridiculous. Like, imagine living your life and you just see your wife being like, "I just got this new knife from the grocery store. It's a 3-in-1 dishwasher safe." Like, I'd be so thrown off.
It's interesting to me that you bring that up too, because that's one of the more haunting aspects of this movie for me. Is like, because they can't run regular commercials, right? So you got to think, like, advertisers are like, "Hey, this thing is always on. Can you put our product in your show?" How do you do that? You have to have the actors promote certain products, right? Mm-hmm. And they have to do it in this sort of phony, sort of stage rehearsed way, and it's so creepy. It's so disgusting. Like again, like it's kind of horror. Like, it's kind of like a horror movie, but then again with that mindset of, hey, knowing what reality TV is, like, it's basically that. And so, like, it just grossed me out every time it happened. But yeah,
it's crazy. Like, even when like, just from the time where Marlon would walk into the house, like, holding a 6-pack of beer, and like the beer product logo would be facing the camera, and he'd be like taking a sip. No, that's a beer, and stuff like that. It blows my. It really just like messes with you, man. Like, you're like, oh my god, like, is this guy ever not gonna like have products thrown in his face? Like, even when he's walking to work, the twin brothers that he does business with, they shove him up against the wall, and there's like there's one promoting chicken, there's one promoting like a travel agency. I'm like, are you kidding me?
I didn't even realize that, but that's why they throw him up against the wall, so that the camera can get a shot
of the advertisement. I hate
that's pretty funny. I didn't know that. That's why.
Yeah. I hate to bring this up now because it's such a huge moment in the film. Is when Truman's like literally having a mental breakdown, and she's like, "Why don't you let me fix you some of this new Mococo drink? All natural sweetener, all natural cocoa beans from not Nicaragua, no artificial sweeteners." Like, who? He's like, what the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to? It's one of my favorite moments in the movie, because like, I think anybody would react that way, and like, anybody react like that, they'd be like, the hell are you talking about?
Right. Like, to me, that's the moment where it becomes so like blatant and obvious. Like, that's like, if they had put like a horror movie like string score like behind it, it would have perfectly fit.
Oh,
because
100%.
That's how creepy it was. And like, up until that moment, you realize how subtle the advertising is. But that's the moment where it's like, no, why don't you try this? And it's so like her eyes bulge out, like it does like a slow zoom in on her. It's like, it's so creepy that like even he's like, wait, hold on, what's happening right now? And I love that. I love how well they do that.
Like, it's crazy the amount of scenes where he just keeps catching people slipping up, or he's becoming more self-aware to where he catches them in the act, basically. Like, just even from the beginning with the stage light falling. But it's crazy how they try to cover things up like crazy. Like, you had the stage light falling. He's confused about it, and over the radio as he drives into work, the radio announcer's like, "Oh yeah, a plane lost some debris overhead."
Yeah, that was one of my favorite things, is how the radio would constantly explain away like weird events, like
that in the newspapers.
Right, yeah, the newspaper.
like when his I'm burning through all the scenes of the movie, but like there's so much to talk about here. When he sees his dad, like he runs into his dad on the street. The very next day on the newspaper says, "Who needs the homeless? The mayor vows to clean up all homelessness from the streets."
Right. Yeah, they just find interesting ways to sort of hide what they're doing. And like, to me, again, it's just so disgusting. Like, but I think what I like about it is it's both prophetic in the way it talks about reality TV, but it's also metaphorical in a way talking about God, right? Like, even at the end, and I hate to skip all the way to the end right here, but like when Ed Harris finally speaks to him, right? It's like, you know, he sounds like God. Like he's talking about how I followed you your entire life. I know who you are as a person and what you'll become and all of that stuff. Like, and it's like, it's sort of metaphorical in that sense where it's like, think of everything that you're doing as a person. God is really the one who's putting his hands in everything and making sure that you go this way instead of that way, or, you know what I'm saying? Something like that. So it's metaphorical in that sense, that it's like, it's a guy, random guy who's in control of this guy's entire life and viewing it. But it's also like saying, like, yeah, that's sort of what God is doing to all of us. But I thought that was just unique.
Mm-hmm.
I'm skipping ahead here too. I really like the ending though, where it ends with him saying, "And if I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night." And then I love how everyone's cheering at the end, and then they're like clapping and celebrating. They're like, "Oh, I wonder what's on TV next."
Yeah, they're like, "Now what?"
Right. Oh.
Man,
how gross is that? Like,
do you guys think, like, this would be a good question to throw on YouTube Shorts? Do you guys think that the line, "If I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night," do you think that was created by somebody saying that to him, or do you think he thought of that on his own? Do you think that line was fed to him as a little catchphrase?
I don't know.
That's an interesting question.
Do you have an answer, Brandon?
I personally think it was just based on of everything that was kind of like fed to him throughout his life. Just like he was fed.
I'm sorry.
Stupid Siri, shut up. my little Siri activated on my watch. I'm telling you, like, seriously though, like, I literally think not a single thing that he says or does up until this part, like we reach this part of timeline in the film, I think he kind of just goes with everything, and everything is like fed to him, just based off of him making decisions on anything else. They try to control his thought process on everything. They put the sunken ship in there on the little dock as he tries to go on the boat. They throw a dog whenever he wants to walk on the pier. They literally have his father, quote, die in a storm to keep him from wanting to go out in the ocean again. Driving on bridges, they have this little warning message that says, "You are now leaving." What is the name of the town? It's like
something Island.
Yeah, something Island. I can't remember.
But it's like, "You are leaving so and so. Are you sure you really want to do that?"
Well, yeah, I think what they are showing in that is like how, programming works overall from a corporate perspective.
See,
right? Like they're able to manipulate things by putting subtle things in there that alter the way that you view and see things. Mm-hmm. So, I think that was a great way that they did that, where they really do show, hey, these little things in people's lives can make them think or feel a certain way.
Yeah.
Or even say certain things.
Yeah, it's even the like when he goes to the travel agency to book that flight to Fiji, and that they have that little poster on the side that has like literally a strike of like lightning striking a plane, and it's like, this could happen to you.
Right. Oh yeah. Like that poster in the background. Like there's a couple of posters where.
Oh yeah.
Like everything. Like you're 100% right. Like the mix, not even the mixed messaging. Like the psychological messaging that is put out there between the radio, the newspaper, and just every sign there is that's like saying, don't leave, you can't leave, you don't want to, you'll die if you leave. Like it's all there. And like it's so like as interesting and funny as this movie is, especially in certain parts, psychologically this is a horror film. Like this is a true horror film, because not only, like, think of the invasion of privacy that this movie like details, and like not only do you have such an invasion of privacy, it's not to one person, it's to the world. Like the entire world has seen your life. Like, ugh, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's disgusting. Like, and it's so creepy. And like on top of the metaphor that I mentioned earlier, like the allegory that this movie sort of points to, there's another allegory there where, like, think of how television manipulates, people's habits and behaviors, right? That's another thing that this character, Ed Harris's character, is kind of doing to not just Truman, but to everybody who's watching his show. You know what I'm saying? It's like he's programming them to expect certain things from this character. Mm-hmm. So like,
it's crazy that Christoph just put all this in. Just like, it's crazy the lengths he goes.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about a couple slip ups that I visibly noticed that, and they don't really make much mention of it. The scene where he goes to the travel agency, and you see the travel agent lady, who's played by Judy Clayton. Oh, we lost Phoenix.
Nope, I'm here.
Okay. It just says your internet was bad. Judy Clayton, her character, she plays the travel agent, and she's running in the room because Truman doesn't really announce that he's going to the travel agency. He just kind of shows up there. And as she runs in the room, and she's like, sorry about your wait, she's still wearing her makeup bib because she was still getting hair and makeup done. And she quickly realizes it, and she throws it off.
Wait, when was this?
After he tries to see his wife in the hospital, he goes to the travel agency to try and book a flight to Fiji. And the travel agent lady runs in. She's like, oh, sorry about your wait and all that. And she's still wearing her hair and makeup bib.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, there's so many things, like noticing, like, also, since it's an artificial sun, artificial light, artificial heat, they make him take vitamin D every morning.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a point in the film where Meryl's like, oh, don't forget to take your vitamin D. So like it's all these little things like that just kind of add up, and it's just. But going back to slip ups here, there's a stage light falling, the radio changing to them talking about him turning on different streets. That's a big notice. Him walking in the elevator, it turns out to be a break room in a sense.
Right. There's so many clever details put in this movie, like that definitely give it away, and it's so funny seeing how many times they slip up and like how it's excused and the ways they try to sneak around it. And it's just, and I want to talk about this particularly, which I think is interesting. Jim Carrey is such a good comedic actor, right? And for like, I wouldn't say like the first hour of this movie, he's doing his usual shtick, right? Like Jim Carrey's doing his usual shtick. He's using his facial expressions. He's really kind of like laying into the comedic aspect that he's normally good at. And it isn't until like those slip ups become consistent, right, where he starts to feel like he's losing his mind, right? And you start to see him, he doesn't go for his like typical antics, right? His typical goofy antics and stuff like that. And it's such an impressive performance in my mind, because you take someone who's so known for really kind of outlandish comedy, and you put that character in an outlandish situation, and you realize how he has to strip all of that back and try to accept some sense of normalcy. And I think that is done so incredibly well with Jim. I think he does an amazing job delivering that kind of performance, especially for someone who was so known for doing something so different.
100%. Like, and it's horrifying the more he becomes self-aware.
Yeah.
Man, the scene where, like, I know a lot of people perceive this as like he's crying because his dad is back. The scene where his dad returns, like they do this whole like build-up moment where he's hugging his dad. He's not crying because his dad is back. He's crying because everything that his entire 30 years of existence has all been a lie. And that's the most horrifying part to me. Like, that's what's so, I guess, sad about it, is like he fully realizes, okay, I need to get the hell out of here.
It's interesting to me, that scene, because like he's been traumatized from this incident in his youth that's kind of kept him stuck in this place. And then his father returns, and also I want to point out the way that they, like, that particular scene, the way that they make it for television. So it's like, oh, bring in the music, you know what I'm saying? Bring the camera this way, like
keep it on the crane cam.
Right, disgusting, just disgusting. But I think the significance of that scene is really good, because it leads to the final scene where when he finally realizes all of this is planned, all of this is orchestrated. Pretty much my entire existence has been, conceived of. So nothing he does matters at that moment. And so I think it's so interesting when he finally decides to leave. He's like, nothing you could do will stop me. Like, at that point, like you could bring on the thunder, the rain, literally nothing. Because at this point, when his dad comes back, you've taken away the one thing that was keeping him there. And as you continue to slip up, now he's becoming more self-aware and understanding that this is not a real world, and this is not a real life. And
right.
I no longer want any more parts of it. And so I think that scene was very significant, especially as it relates to the ending. And at the moment when he decides to leave, I was like, everybody in the who was watching it was just like, come on, dude, do it. Let's do it. And then when he finally leaves, my heart sank, because the realization is everyone knows who you are, bro. like everyone knows who you are. How do you live a normal life? Like, it's impossible. I feel like his life goes one of two ways. Either one, he's a hermit for the rest of his life, or two, like he doesn't live very long. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, because how do you compartmentalize the fact that everything that you have lived for 30 some odd years was constructed by a television crew, and how do you accept a reality in which now you don't have that protection, and you're the most famous face in the world? So I was just like, I would be distraught, or he'd also have to be in therapy for the rest of his life.
Here's how I'm doing a little headcanon here, because they leave the entire ending up to your interpretation. So this is how I expect his future. This is how I view his future. He marries Sylvia, gets a boatload of money, one off a lawsuit, and two, all the royalties he's owed.
Oh, yeah.
They move to Fiji. They live a quiet life.
That's the happier ending. I think that's the happier, more optimistic ending. My worry is them getting to that point, because I know court cases take forever. So, like, them getting to that point, it should be a speedy trial, bro. Like, you took me as a baby. I did not consent to this for 30 some odd years. You know what I'm saying? Like, the lack of privacy, the money that he's owed should be in the billions. Like, should be in the billions.
Yep.
So, yeah, you could move to Fuji, live your normal life. That would be ideal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think the tragedy, the psychosis, because it's not just your friends were all, fake. Your parents were in on this. The people who literally gave you life were also in on this. So it's like you have no one to, no one to really rely on, depend on, anything. And everybody else who you would meet knows you from television. So again, you're like, you have no real confidants or anything other than Sylvia. That's it.
And the terrifying part of that is, like, she is literally the only person that's real to him that he can talk to. Like, even moving forward of, like, when he's walking down the street, oh my God, it's Truman. Hi, Truman. Can I get a picture with you?
Exactly. Like, you're a celebrity in everybody else's eyes. She's the only one that sees you as a person.
Is there a dollar figure you guys could put on your own life to have that be your life?
No.
Nope.
No. Not even.
I mean, what's the point of having all that money if you're stuck in a fake world?
Yeah, like.
Well, okay, but let's take away the fake world aspect. Just your day-to-day life,
where there's a camera on you 24/7.
Yeah,
there is not a number. Nope.
Like I said, I'm not a fan of reality TV. Like, I don't care how much money you put at that. I never want to have that experience at all.
Is there a number for you, Zach?
Oh, 100%. I mean, for me, I mean, I think there's a trade-off and a very fine line to walk. I don't really necessarily. I mean, if I was given $1 billion, I'd be like, yeah, sure, of course.
You know what's
even if I was getting $500,000, I mean, or not $500,000, sorry, half a billion, sorry, not $500,000, $500K, not enough for the rest of your life.
It was at 500 mil. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope.
Like,
I can't.
I think the money would be nice, but like the one thing is like, if I did it, it would be for a extremely limited time. Like, I'm talking like maybe 90 days. Like,
I couldn't even make it that far.
Like, and I doubt I would make it either. But the number got to be high. Like, it's got to be high, and like, seriously, that's my limit. Like, 90 days. I don't care. And even then, I'll probably be like, you know what? No, never mind. Screw the money, because you're gonna, like, yeah, I'll do it for 90 days, but you'll air it for 20 years, and I'm like, yeah, no, I don't need that in my life. No, I'm okay.
You know what's frightening? Speaking of, like, just personal life, of like, let's just say, like, they make a mention of this in the film. It's just like, you're in the throes of passion with your significant other. And they make a mention of it, like, oh, they're like, oh yeah, they'll cut to a curtain or something till it's over, so they don't really show you anything. And that leads to the question of, like, they were talking about wanting to have Truman and Meryl have a kid. Mm-hmm. And here's the most frightening thing, because there's a deleted scene which I'm confused as to why it was deleted, but it makes sense in the pacing of the film. And I don't know if Phoenix has seen it. I know Zach hasn't. There's a scene where they're in this round table meeting talking about what's next for the whole Truman Show, and it's talking about Meryl leaving because of the whole mental stress it's caused her. This is like right after the whole dad returns and all that, and after she leaves him. They talk about bringing a new character onto the scene, which is that new desk lady that they brought in. That is going to be. He was like, "Oh yeah, this is your new coworker. You guys are going to be desk mates or neighbors," and that was supposed to be the new forced love interest for Truman. The plan was to have them have a kid together, and the camera would forever be like there would be a new channel for the kid. Where it's on him forever too, and Marlon even asked the question. He's like, so when this is over, when Truman dies eventually, it's over, right? And Christoph doesn't answer. So that's freaking terrifying, dude.
That entire scenario is awful, and it's very interesting too, because they were talking about Truman and Meryl having kids, and I'm like, so if she's an actress, right, are they paying her
paid very well?
Yeah, I was gonna say, because they're paying her to sleep with him too as well, and then she's gonna allow him to impregnate her too, and then they'll have an actual kid for this show? Really? And I think, and this is my guess, this is just my guess, I think what they would have really done is they would have pretended that she got pregnant, and then they would have had another kid sort of, I guess, brought into this world as Truman's kid, and that would have been that. So she wouldn't have actually had to go through that process. That's my guess, because each scenario is dark, but that one's slightly darker. I mean, slightly less dark than her actually getting impregnated and having a kid for a television show. That's disgusting. But even still, the other scenario's pretty gross in itself, but is a little less gross than that one.
yeah. It's such a terrifying thought to really kind of fathom. It's just that your kid would also have a 24/7 camera on him.
Yeah,
and his life would be followed the entire time. Yeah. And it's even Marlon realizes yeah, that's fucked up.
Yeah, this whole scenario is pretty messed up. I'm sure in the beginning it was a solid concept, and I'm sure the money that you were making made it tolerable. But after, 30 years, I would have gotten a conscience. You know?
And even Marlon, because Marlon's been on the show since he was a kid too. They were like, I've been your best friend since however long I've known you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's while we're talking about Marlon being on the show forever too. There's a scene where they're talking about, oh, remember you got pneumonia and you had to leave you had to be out of school for a month. They were on he went on a real vacation, dude. That guy got written out for a month. He went on vacation for a month with his real family, no cameras.
Hey, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, sorry, I dropped off for a second, but what I was going to say, Brandon, when you were mentioning the part about how there was a deleted scene and they're talking about making a spinoff of the kid's life, if you guys really think about it, it's not as insane, but right, like the Kardashians, like their family life, like their kids are going to be involved in that for the rest of their lives, no matter how far they try to get away from it. They're going to be involved in some way, shape, or form, which, you know, really is just sad to like think about the fact that you can be born into something where your life is not private.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's so twisted. And I want to point out, like, Peter Weir didn't write this. Andrew Niccol wrote this movie. And I think he wrote, I feel like he wrote the, I don't know if it's a book or something, but like, yeah. So, yeah, dude's a pretty good screenwriter, and he's got a couple of other films that he did as well. Simone, which I don't know if you guys are seeing. Simone is sort of another take on television and the idea of creating something that's not real and putting it in the real world. So yeah, he's a really good writer when it comes to those types of stories. But to me, what I think is the most impressive part of this screenplay is the details, right? The subtle details that, you know, you kind of notice on second and third viewings, and like really how detailed it is that for the television purposes, and so many of the creative details in how these characters speak to him and how they would normally speak in real life is still like so unique. But like, to me, the horror aspect is the strongest element of this film, and just how uncomfortable and unsettling this all really is, especially once Truman figures it all out. So yeah, it's the entire thing of it is just insane to think about, like, when you look at it. And I don't know if you guys have like heard about like where people have Truman Show syndrome, where they think they're actually like, where they think they have 24/7 cameras on them and everything's out to get them. But like, it's kind of, you can kind of see it in like in normal day-to-day life. Like when you're driving, like there'll be random people like causing you to be late to something, causing you to be stuck in traffic, and like where like people will just pull out right in front of you. Like, I'm not saying I believe in this, but like when you see the scene in the Truman Show when he's like, "Oh, let's go to Vegas," or I think it was Vegas, somewhere.
I forget where I can't remember where he was driving to, but he hits the roundabout and goes in this one lane, and all these cars out of nowhere just show up and cause just all this traffic. And like, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, okay. That happens to me in real life too. The fuck?"
Yeah.
Be like, yeah, but like I said, I'm not saying I believe in that at all.
I mean, I could totally see why people do, because we live sort of in this reality where, I mean, cameras are constantly on us, right? Mm-hmm. So like, yeah, I can see how people could feel that way. It does feel like a little bit like we're in a Big Brother special, but like we're all the main character. So it's like, it's a lot to focus on. But yeah, I totally get that. It's an interesting syndrome, and definitely an interesting theory. But yeah, like we're not getting as much attention as Truman is. Unfortunately. So let's go ahead and give final ratings. Brandon, what are you giving the Truman Show?
Man, I feel like there's so much more we can talk about, but we're on kind of a time crunch today. So, I mean, this film is an easy 5 stars for me. It's on my top 10 of all time. Just this movie, the more you think about it, I think the much, like, it just continues getting better, especially for me. Just like, the more I watch, I'm like, okay, I'm just so in love with this movie. So, yeah, easy 5 stars.
Nice. Zach, what about you?
Yeah, so for me, I think, especially after talking with you guys about, and some things, Brandon, I guess you were right. So I am proven wrong. There were a lot of things I really didn't notice. So I originally had the movie at 4 stars, but I'd have to go up for 4.5 for the amount of detail in the movie.
Nice. All right. I'm going to ride that 5 stars as well with Brandon. This was one of the first few films that I saw off of the Greta Gerwig Barbie watch list, and it instantly shot to the top of like my favorite of the first watches of the year. Yeah, the layers, the complexity, and all of like the things that could happen afterwards. It's so intriguing. It's one of those things that has stayed with me. Like I said, I think this movie was very prophetic for its time. This movie got shafted in awards. We didn't even talk about awards. The only person who got nominated was Ed Harris, which I was like, I mean, I get, but also like, what? The main thing that it really won was screenplay, which completely deserved. So, yeah, but like this movie was really kind of treated like it was a kid's movie and it was a comedy. And I was like, no, like this is a dark movie. But yeah, it got a little bit of an unfair treatment. But either way, 5 stars all around from myself and Brandon. 4.5. We got Zach up. So great job. And if you guys have seen The Truman Show, let us know what you would give it. Let us know your thoughts on it. And we are going to move on now to what's good. What's good? What's good? What's good? Zach, what have you seen? What would you recommend? What has been good for you, sir?
Oh, man. I really hate to keep doing this, but honestly, the only thing I've been watching recently is anime, and that's due to my roommate. So I watched, and this is kind of like a no-brainer because it's something that I feel like is really big in the anime community right now, which is the Jujutsu Kaisen movie. I watched that. It was fantastic. I really loved it. You don't have to see season 1 to watch it. It's prior to season 1. The way that the show works actually goes like in the timeline, it would be season 2, movie season 1. So it's kind of interesting in the way it works. But I will say it was an excellent film. I loved it. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, go check it out.
Hey, Zach, Attack on Titan when?
Coming soon, I'm sure. I have that and Demon Slayer coming up. I haven't seen either of those, and those are like the 2 big ones. And I've been getting a lot of crap from my friends who watch anime, like, "Oh, you've seen everything, like so many other ones, but you haven't seen like the big ones." Oh. And I was like, "Oh, well, okay, I'll have to watch that here pretty soon."
Yeah. So, what's good for me is I've been going through and just watching so many movies lately. I got around to finally watching Heat. That movie was actually really, really good. It stars Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer, John Voight. It's just a stacked cast. In my entire time growing up, I thought this movie was like a gangster movie. And it's literally just a movie about this crew going out and pulling hits on pulling like bank heists and all that, and just robbing them clean of money. And like, I did not expect it to take the turn that it did, man. Al Pacino and De Niro kill it in this movie. It's so incredibly good, and I'm so excited that I finally got around to watching it. But I think I ended up giving it 4 stars. Which is around, I think, the same score a lot of people give it. But man, just such a good movie. Yeah.
Nice. This is a unique what's good for me because I haven't seen shit. I've not been to the theater in over a month. And when it comes to watching movies, I just simply have not had the time. So I'm actually going to recommend something a little bit out of the norm. I am going to recommend a Broadway show. and I went to a Broadway show recently. I loved it. The songs are stuck in my head. Y'all know I'm a big musical theater person. So, yes, I've been listening to the soundtrack nonstop. Even when I'm not listening to it, I hear it. But I went and checked out Six, the musical on Broadway. Six is the story of the six wives of Henry VIII. And basically they redo it as sort of a pop music musical. And it's such an interesting way of doing that. I thought the actors, the performers were amazing. Really great story, really great fun time at the theater. I don't know if you'll get to see it maybe on your national tour. Maybe you can catch like a recording on YouTube or something, but I highly recommend checking out Six the musical. If you don't get to see the show, at least listen to the soundtrack because the soundtrack is insane. But yes, that's what's been good for me. I got a chance to see Six the musical. Highly, highly, highly recommend. So that's what's been good for me. You got Heat for Brandon. You got Jujutsu Kaisen for Zach. Can't go wrong anywhere in that lineup. So check all of those out. And that is what has been good for us here at Film Code. So now it is that time.
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Brandon, you had the code word this week.
Yes, sir.
Remind everyone what your code word was and all of your clues, please.
Your code word was hit. The film came out between 2010 and 2015. Contains 2 MCU actors and 2 actors who had both had films released in the last 2 months. And the director has been making films for about 20 years now.
All right. Zach, you got 2 points on this season, which means you kick us off. What is your guess for the code word?
Don't we all have 2 points, just to be clear?
No,
Phoenix
I
has
have
4.
4.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, never mind. Yeah, you do have 4. Okay, so I didn't get much time to look this up, but I do think I have it. I think that, let's see, based on what Brandon said, the movie I am looking at is a 2014 movie. Contains 2 MCU actors and 2 actors who both had films released in the last year. I've actually seen 3 MCU actors in this movie. Jon Favreau, Scarlett Johansson, and Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. was in Oppenheimer, which released recently. As far as the second actor, there's a lot here, but I'm not entirely sure who the other one would be. So I have those as the actors, and then the director is Jon Favreau himself, making movies for about 20 years. It's a little over 20 years, but I went with that. So the movie I'm looking at is Chef. I'm not sure how it would relate to the code word hit, but it seems like the other ones check like the boxes from what I've seen. So my guess is Chef, directed by Jon Favreau in 2014.
Nice.
Phoenix?
All right. I did not go with Chef, but that seems like a really good guess. So the 2 MCU actors that I have is Chris Evans and Brie Larson, who are both in this movie. I got Michael Cera, who's in Barbie, and I also have who's my other actor? Jason Schwartzman, who was in Asteroid City. So those are my 2 actors. Your director has been going at it for almost 20 years. That would be Edgar Wright. Your film is from 2010, and it's hit because there's a lot of fist fighting in this movie, and that is Scott Pilgrim versus the World. So that is my choice for the code word.
Hits it. You guys are both wrong. Phoenix came very close with Barbie. With Barbie being one of the movies that has one of these actors in the last 2 months, though.
Okay.
So, your movie came out in 2012. It is your actors. Your two MCU actors are Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Pena. And your two actors from the last 2 months is David Harbour for Gran Turismo and America Ferrera for Barbie. Your director is David Ayer. Your movie is End of Watch.
Wow.
And it's literally...
Is what?
End of Watch.
End of Watch. Yep.
Literally, like, arms dealers put a hit out on these two cops who bust their... it's the cartel. Basically, the cartel puts a hit out on them. So, hit is your code word.
Ah, nice. There's actually 3 MCU actors in this because it also has Frank Grillo.
Oh yeah. I was looking at I was looking at your main cast. Yeah. Catch.
Nice. All right. I've seen In the Watch. Very good movie. I never would have thought of that. But okay, nice. All right, Brandon. Brandon's back on the board. We're tied. Looks like we're gonna have a repeat of last season. Let's hope not. All right.
Don't count me out.
Zach,
Only a few points behind both of you, so
right.
I want to hear it.
All right, Zach is always ready to make a comeback, even at the end of the season.
I was close, right? Last season.
So there you have it. Good job. All right. Brandon, let everybody know where they can find you, sir.
You guys can find me at FANTASMIC ears over on Letterboxd. I'm literally about to go log my 1,000th film. I've definitely seen more than 1,000. I keep finding films that I've seen. I've just never marked as watched. But I'm keeping it at $9.99 until I go watch this movie. I'm about to go technically watch Jaws for the first time. I saw it when I was a kid, but we're talking like 20 years ago. Wow. So I'm counting this as a first time viewing again. So yeah, thank you guys again for listening.
Awesome. Zach, where can everybody find you, sir?
You guys can find me on X at Zach Sneath. That is ZACHSNEATH. And you guys can find me on Letterboxd at Z Sneaks, which is ZSNEAKS.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at I'mHOReviews1, that's the number 1, and on Letterboxd under PA Clouding. And as always, guys, please follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at Film Code Pod. And we will see you guys next week. We are out of here. Peace.